Good morning.
Morning.
And welcome back, dear viewer. We've been away for a few weeks due to Easter and holidays and all kinds of things. All kinds have happened since we've been away, haven't they?
Well, Easter happened.
Easter happened. What happened
Again.
at Easter, Chris? What happened at Easter, Chris? Do you remember?
Yeah, I told people that Jesus Christ was risen from the dead.
Did you really?
And I had 58 hallelujahs in my communion service.
Is that all?
You counted them.
Yeah, but it's one of my challenges to the young people to count the hallelujahs. And then they have a debate as to do they count the hallelujahs in the hymns.
Yes, of course. It's
and
a prayer.
Yes, and they got to 57.
Hymn is a prayer.
So there was a hidden 58th. They didn't notice then.
I don't know. I've got no idea. I just took their answer.
Well done.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
58 hallelujahs, that's good. And as a deanery, we had the I think rejoicing moment with Philip Ringer's farewell.
Yeah,
and lots of people were there. It was a joyous occasion, I thought, which is just what Philip, I think, would have liked.
It was poignant leading the dawn service on East Pier in West Bay. There's been Philip's service for many years, and it was poignant leading that with when we planned it together, but he wasn't present in body to take it with me.
Well, present in spirit, beautiful. That's all that matters.
But present in spirit, and dawn broke perfectly just as we were doing that service. It was very beautiful. And the Cornish bakery, bless them. Do you know that in the Cornish bakery, they got up, the staff, at 3:15 in the morning in order to serve us coffee and coffee. Because they loved Philip so much and because they were doing it.
Whenever I've been down to West Bay, as we did a couple of times in our holiday last week, you could feel Philip's spirits, particularly sat next to Maggie's cafe when I first came here. He was always in the little shed next to Maggie's cafe with his dog. That's where I always used to know he would be.
Oh, our dear colleague, much missed.
Much missed. There we are. Much missed. God bless him. And all who sailed on him, as they say. So that happened. Easter Day occurred.
We've got our parish profile sorted now, so that's good. We've got a really good parish profile, and particularly good introduction from the bishop. Actually, definitely shows an understanding of our parish and how we work.
Good,
really good.
Well, let's hope he's still our bishop. In moderate events.
It's Karen. It's Karen right there. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of hard work for the people who have to do it, but once it is done, I think it's a good marker of where you are at that time.
Yeah, it is.
I look back at the one for the job I applied for here and think actually the things that they were asking for, although we never think perhaps we're hitting the spot, we've actually done quite a bit that they were really looking for in that time, which is always interesting.
And also the progress since the previous prospectuses, the previous particulars.
Yeah, exactly.
It's there's a lot going on. It's a busy.
And I crossed a number of parish boundaries to go and take a funeral in Charmouth, which was very interesting.
Did I give you permission to cross my land?
No, you didn't, Chris. I had to go through Bridport and your parishes and some of mine and one or two of the Golden Cap. It was lovely. It was lovely. And sometimes you forget that those things which I genuinely believed I was called to do and to be, which is the spiritual director, are such exciting and nice things to do, rather than being sat as I've done the last 2 days since I've come back off holiday, just answering the 140 odd emails that had piled in.
Yeah, but you did get the excitement in those emails of 4 exclamation marks in a row.
For you, yes. Four.
That's how excited David was to be back on RevChat today.
Absolutely, as you can tell.
Yes.
Anyway, we are
always looks excited.
We are recording, and we're recording on Thursday, back to our good day of Thursday again, because we did the Easter one a couple of days early, and so we're gonna look at a bit of Acts of the Apostles.
Mm-hmm.
Can I read it, or does somebody else want to read it?
Go for it, David.
Go. Acts of the Apostles, chapter 2, verse 42 to 47. If you want to follow it or look at it yourselves, dear viewer. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and fellowship, to the breaking of bread and prayers. Awe came upon everyone, because many wonders and signs were being done by the apostles. All who believed were together and had all things in common. They would sell their possessions and goods and distribute the proceeds to all as any had need.
Apologies for that.
Day by day, as they spent much time together in the temple, they broke bread at home and ate their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having the goodwill of all the people. And day by day, the Lord added to their number those who were being saved.
Oh, just like today's church.
That seems a moment of excitement in your life, Chris.
Oh, well, I must admit, actually, numbers were up a bit at Easter.
Oh,
but
good.
People come into church full of awe at the Holy God.
Well, we've got a young chap wanting to come into our church on Sunday, our churches on Sunday, to record. I don't know how we're going to do this. Obviously, there are steps we have to go through, but wanting to take photographs of priests doing their work and wanting to soak in the atmosphere of what goes on in church for his art project, because he's quite a spiritual chap. He doesn't necessarily declare himself as a Christian. I think he's interested in all sorts of different forms of religion, but he thinks there's something particularly special and atmospheric about churches and the and church services and priests at work, and he's interested in kind of depicting that artistically. And I had a really interesting conversation with him last night, yesterday evening, about that. And it was he was talking about how welcoming and inviting church spaces are, and the hospitality really.
Is it from Colfox School?
No, I think he's at college. He's at a local college, Bournemouth, I think.
Because we've had a similar request for somebody who wants to go and do a similar thing, although not so much services, but wants to take pictures of the church and stuff at Stoke Abbott.
Right.
So it could be it's a set piece of work by the sound of it. Yeah. So here they are. I'm presuming that they are the disciples who've been devoting themselves to the apostles, or other disciples have been devoting themselves to the apostles' teaching and fellowship, and to the breaking of bread and prayer, which is what we are encouraging people to do each time we meet, because Jesus said, each time you meet, do this in memory of me, didn't he, at the Last Supper?
And I still think that's actually something I still find quite incredible, that 2,000 years later, every benefice does that every Sunday.
But it's the very reason that he said it was so that it would continue, and that's exactly what's happened, hasn't it?
Yeah. So we do carry on, and we can stand at the altar thinking that we're carrying on what Jesus taught us to do. And that's what makes these churches welcoming places, because I'm convinced that breaking of bread and our prayers change lives. Mm-hmm. And
I love the way that this is quite fluid, about the breaking of bread at an altar and in the temple and all the rest of it, and the breaking of bread at home, and that there's the hospitality and the fellowship that is, it's all worship. It's all of a piece, that the same kind of in the temple and in the church as they are.
And that's the importance. that's the importance of the story we had last week, which viewer, if you we didn't meet or with broadcast, so to speak, but the reading was the disciples on the road to Emmaus, and they recognised Jesus in the breaking of the bread, and that wasn't at an altar or in a temple; it was in somebody's house, and that's the important thing that you quite rightly say, Carrie. The sharing of meals are important and central, I think, to a lot of traditions, but particularly to the Christian tradition. It is a form of fellowship, and we can break bread in many ways, whether it be to give somebody some food, as we often do when people knock on our doors and say, can you help us, or we need so and so, or today in society, which is I know more of a secular thing, but with the advent of food banks and food fridges and food larders, it is about fellowship and sharing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was really moved. I've been watching back series of the pilgrimage program, and I was particularly struck by the pilgrimage that they did to Iona and there was an actress, Louisa Klein.
That's right.
Jewish, and she made bread. She basically did a little sort of mini Shabbat meal for the pilgrims, her fellow pilgrims, and the breaking of bread and the breaking and the sharing of it and the equality in it all. And it was really, really moving, really moving.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. I think it's so important, and that sense of not doing unto people, but of genuine sharing.
And then you move on, of course, because it goes on, doesn't it? Or the important message that we're meant to bring is more important than just that we're breaking bread and sharing in fellowship. We're meant to do other things, aren't we? All who believed were together, all had things in common. They'd sell their possessions and goods and distribute the proceeds to all as any had need. And day by day, they spent much time together in the temple. They broke bread at home. They ate their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having the goodwill of the people. And because of that, it added more people to their number.
And it reminds me, we were in John's Gospel quite heavily over Lent. And I've really been enjoying John's Gospel and the abundance that, having faith in God and God's abundance and God's abundant provision and God's economy, the economy of abundance rather than the sort of scarcity economy that scarcity mindset that the world has. No, I must keep my own, and what's mine is for me and for my loved ones, and hands off. And that's not how we're supposed to live. We're supposed to live confidently, with confidence in God and faith in God and God's provision, and confident that we can share and that God will provide. I guess that's a difficult message if you're, it's kind of easy to say when, for us, maybe who have enough, what if you don't have enough? How do you still live generously and confidently in God's provision? But then I'm also, the times that I have been in and amongst people who have very little, I often find they're more generous than people who are quite well off and rich and feel they've got stuff they have to protect.
So are we going to go down the route of selling possessions and goods and distribute proceeds to all? Does that mean we have no problem paying our parish share because people are so generous to our churches and the spirituality and the needs of everybody?
We've just had a legacy for exactly the right amount of money we needed for a big bill that came in.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that we could be better at, and I can only speak for my own churches, obviously I wouldn't dare to speak for your own and wouldn't wish to, is that I've always been frustrated, and perhaps it's just me as opposed to anybody else, I don't know, that if one of our churches is has had a difficult time, and people will know that we had problems with one of our churches where money went missing from an account. I'll say no more, but other than that. And they weren't able to pay their bills because all the money had gone. And if they're being dealt with, obviously, by the police, and we're well down the line of that. But they couldn't even pay their insurance. And I put it to some of our churches who I knew were well off. Can they help? And the looks I got of amazement that we should consider, helping one of our other. Well, eventually did, because we talked it through, and the team helped in a wider way. But that's what he's saying we should be doing. That if you've got possessions, you should share. If you're part of the community of Christ, you share in whatever way you can, because next time it could be you that's going to be in need of the help and the support and the care. And so I don't know if that answers your question, Chris, but you're quite right. People are generous. And I made the point at a stewardship meeting when we were being told, the parish share is not coming in, not as much money being given to the diocese as it was. And the answer is actually that's not true. If you look at the amount actually given, it may not be the amount they want, but the amount increased on the year before is still going up. No, that doesn't solve the problem or pay the bills. We know that. But the generosity of people is still there. Because, I remember when I first came to the diocese 16 years ago, I think the diocesan budget then was something like 8 million a year. We're now up to 12 million. And they're receiving at least 10 and a half, 11 of that. Mm-hmm. So the generosity of people is still great.
It's interesting you talk about the stewardship stuff, because we were due to do and are going to do a stewardship campaign this June. It has been put off and put off and put off, and we haven't got round to doing it. Nobody really wanted to do it, etc., etc. And actually, we are going to do it. We're going to do it gently, carefully, and it's going to be focusing on gratitude. That's the focus, on giving thanks for all the gifts that we do have, and for all the people that we do have, and all the amazing ways that they have served our churches, and time, talents, and treasure. Really, we're going to be thanking God for all of those, and focusing on that rather than we need more money, the situation's so dire. Again, it's
what I found,
God's economy.
What I found, and we've been doing a similar thing in Tollapacora. They had their lead stolen off the roof 5-6 years ago now, and they raised quite a bit of money towards the cost of the work, and then discovered the tower was unsafe, so they had to spend the money on the tower because they weren't allowed on the roof. And on it went. So they spent the money, and of course the cost of repairing the lead, with whether it be lead or an alternative, has doubled or trebled almost in that time. And we went to the community and said, look, we've got so much, we need so much, but if we're to get the grant, which we could possibly get from the lottery fund or whatever it is, we still need to have this amount of money. And the one thing that struck me as I spoke to the gathered population of 40, 50 people from the community who came, some were quite hostile at times towards giving money to the church, not the church itself, but the idea, because we are rich, aren't we? The church commissioners, what they don't do is they don't understand the mechanisms of how money is worked and what we do. And it's only because I was able to talk to them gently, as you quite rightly say, Callie, gently being the real thumb, about where money comes from, where it goes to, how much do we pay into the parish, and then we get back 82% plus more in other ways as well. So, so the money we give comes back, but it comes back in service in various ways. The people said, we didn't really understand that. We just thought that it went into the black hole of. And I think people are generous when they realise that it's for their community. Most people want the church to be saved because it has special meanings to them. And generosity can be seen. But I still think we've got to be seen as a church to be generous as well. And for many years, I remember saying to some wedding couples years ago at our wedding day that, my theory has always been, as a church, we've been very good at saying to people, you can't have that, you mustn't do this, you can't have that on the grave, you can't do this at your wedding, but give us your money and you can get married or whatever. We've been very good at that rather than saying, actually, how can we be generous to each other?
Yeah, and I'm challenged. I mean, I've been thinking about this and reflecting on this for a while, the whole sort of generosity of God. The bit that I have to work on personally, I think, is time, generosity of time, and finding that time for people where you're not kind of in a rush and thinking, gosh, I've got to press on, I've got X, Y, Z to do, and not being, as I say, in a scarcity mindset about time. And just, we know that, don't we, that if we pray, if we start our day properly in prayer, it's amazing how the day flows and the time seems to work. And if we don't have time for our prayers, then, the day goes to pot. It's really interesting. So
the one thing I always take from this is that we should have glad and generous hearts.
Yeah. Yes. And it isn't that beautiful in the way that it depicts that. Actually, they do then, human nature breaks through and they squabble and all the rest of it. But those moments when we get glimpses of it all working beautifully are, they're just wonderful, aren't they? And they're to hold on to if we can.
And now that you're a very early question, Chris, is if we do all this day by day, the Lord is going to add to our number. And people are going to flock through the door of Lourdes Church, not because you're there or that Peter's playing the organ, but because they want to give thanks to God for his love and generosity to them.
Because, of course, it is all about numbers and bottoms on seats.
Never worry about numbers.
Church stats and
I never have worried about numbers. As Bishop Nick learned one day when he was talking at Bishop's Council earlier in my time on Bishop's Council, and I said to him, Bishop, I don't care who comes to church on Sunday because despite my efforts, they still come. I'm more concerned with those who are not reaching. We open their hearts to want to be there. And he looked at me. I never forgot it. So the day he left, and we went to his leaving party, and I went to say goodbye to him, he said, I shall never forget, you don't care about who comes to church then.
I'm quite right too. I just think that, like you say, it's my challenge this year at my set of annual meetings, because that's the time of year we're at now.
Oh, yes.
Is I've just called it going deeper into God.
Well done. Well, I had number 1 meeting yesterday, Chris. First of 12.
Yeah, I had my first on Tuesday, second tomorrow.
Yeah, second tonight for me. It's Solway Ash. Down to Solway Ash for second one tonight.
How many people attend your APCMs usually, on average?
Well, it varies. I mean, it
varies, yeah.
One or two will just be the core PCC. Tomorrow nights will be double.
Which is how many then?
There'll be about 30 there tomorrow, I expect.
With that loaders?
Ask as well.
The answer is, Chris, yes, it depends on the size of the congregation generally. If there's something that people really want to come and have a grouse about, you may get the odd one or two. I think yesterday there were 8 of them at South Perris, but that doubles their congregation because, that's where they are at the moment. Tonight at Solway Ash, I reckon there'll be 6, 7, 8 of them again. I don't know. But then you get to Beaminster, of course, which is a much larger like yourself with Bridport. And I'd be surprised if there aren't 40, 50, 60 of them there.
And you're right, as you said, David, because we said it in our meeting, if there's something controversial going on, people come.
They will turn up. They'll turn up, yeah. There we are.
Anyway, dear viewer.
Right, dear viewer, there we are. If you're in the locality of your parish, look out for your annual parochial meeting and come along.
Yeah.
We'd love to see you. We'd love to see you. Answer any questions.
And feel free to come and share your possessions. Feel free to come and share your prayers.
But make sure you come with a glad and a generous heart. That's what we want. Glad and generous heart.
Yeah. Our APCM is after the first Sunday in May, we have our parish service where we all come together for one service. So we'll have our service and then we'll have our APCM.
I had a friend of mine who had 4 parishes and still does have, as far as I'm aware. And he's always had his annual meetings of a Sunday as part of the service. He starts the service off, and instead of the sermon, they have the annual meeting. Then they go back into the breaking of bread and finish the service off, which is a nice way to do it.
We're combining it with Christian Aid, so we'll be concentrating on the world wider afield, as it were.
There we are. Well, if you're around, keep an eye out for any of these things. Look on our websites, which is what Chris and Callie were talking about before I came before we came on air. And why do we look at each other's websites? Basically, to be nosy and see what they're up to. That's what we're really doing. But there we are. We'll see you again next week, Chris. You're still here.
I'm here next week, and then I'm on holiday.
Then you're on holiday. There we are. We'll see you next week.
See you soon.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.